Hi there, welcome to my channel. I'm sure by now you've heard of the new amazing animation tool called Rive. It allows you to create interactive animations in a way that's never been done before. Well, actually, it has been done a long time ago by Flash, but this is like Flash on steroids. So you don't know where to start? Well, let me help you. Come join me today and we're going to start our very first Rive animation. We're going to be creating this funky eyeball, and I'm also going to throw in some amazing tips to animate and design for free. So if you like this video, like and subscribe. Hi guys, today I'm going to show you how to create this funky little bouncing eye in Rive. First we're going to design the eye, and then we're going to pop into the animation section and get animating. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is create a new artboard. So just press the A key and drag it out like this. You can press Shift to constrain. Then just to round it off, because I've got OCD, I'm going to go in here, make it 500 by 500. I like nice round numbers. Then we're going to go up here to fill and just click any color you like. I'm just going to go with the same dark blue color I've got there. Now let's create the eyeball. For that we're going to just use, and obviously going to use a normal sphere or a circle. And to get the circle, you just press O, and it's an easy hotkey to remember because an O looks just like a circle. Okay, I've pressed O, then I keep in Shift to constrain it, and I just drag it out like this. Okay, now I want to make it a bit smaller. What I do is, most of the times when I do that, I don't use the scale section. I just use the size here. It's a much better habit to get into. I'm going to make this 175 by 175. Now we've got a nice little eye. Now I can take this and just up here, center it in the artboard here and center it there. Now for the fill, we're going to go here. We're going to click, we're going to click here, and then where it says solid, we're going to go radial. Now it's going to give us a radial fill. We don't want it this big, just something like this. I just want to give the eye a bit more volume. Something like this, I think it's going to look nice. And then I'm going to go to this color here. I don't want it black. I want it like a sort of like a pinkish white color, just because an eye contains a lot of blood vessels. This is going to make it look a bit more realistic. So that's basically our eye there. I'm just going to drag this up a bit. Now we know where the light comes from. Then when I get here, I'm going to just add a stroke, just a white stroke, because this is going to be like a rim light from the back. So now you can see it's taking shape quite nicely. I'm actually going to make this a bit smaller. I decided it's a bit better. So I'm making this 150 by 150. And now let's create the pupil, or the iris first. We press O again, constrain, press Shift to constrain, and then this one I'm going to give a full, I'm going to use the same, then make a nice blue eye. This one I want a bit bigger, let's say about 120, no, 120 is too big, 110 by 110, still too big, 100. Okay, let's go for 75. Sorry, I'm a bit OCD. And this one we're also going to center, do the same, put it there in the middle. Okay, now it's starting to look like an eye. But we need a pupil as well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this ellipse by pressing Ctrl D to duplicate it. And the fill I'm going to make black. Okay, now it looks like the guy is tripping on LSD. So we need to make the pupil a bit smaller. So let's try 45 by 45. And that seems to be okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start grouping everything. It's very important to group your objects in Rive. So I'm selecting this one and this one. Press Ctrl G to group them. Call them eye details. And then I'm just going to take this one and make another group. Call this eye. And then I'm going to make another group and call this master. Master of the puppets. Okay, so now we've got everything in our group. We've got the eye and we've got the eye details inside of the eye. So now what we're going to do is now we're just going to create these little reflections, and for that obviously we're going to need another circle. So press 0, shift to constrain, just small like that. And for this one we want it white. And I'm actually going to keep that one there. It looks very nice. And then for the fill, we can bring the opacity down, maybe 75. You can also click here or click here and then play with, up here. You can play with the layers where you can, the blending modes. For example, if you wanted like a soft light or a hard light. The hard light's actually working nice in this instance. Then let's duplicate this one, Control D, and maybe put this one over here because the light's coming from this direction, so the reflections would be stronger here. I'm going to make this one a bit bigger, 25 by 25, and maybe just move it in a bit. And this one I'm also going to move in. There we go. I think we've got a very nice eye here. So these two, I'm putting them into the eye details group here. Just going to drag them to the top. And let's rename everything. It's always good to have names of things in Rive, or actually in any program. It's a very good habit. So we call this reflection 1. I'm just going to call it RAF1. This one I'm going to call RAF2. This one I'm going to call pupil. This one I'm going to call iris. And the big one I'm going to call eyeball. So now we've basically got everything. If I click it up here, we can see it goes up and down, which is nice. So the last thing I want to do is take the iris and put a clip on it, because we're going to be animating the eye going up and down like this, but we don't want it to go outside of the boundary of the eyeball. So what we're going to do here is it's very easy. You just go to clip, and you see this, when you see this blue bounding box, it's asking you pick a shape to use as a clipping source. We're going to use the eyeball, and then if I go in eye details here, that group, and I drag it down, yeah, you can see it's behaving exactly like we want. But what we also want to do, we want to copy this rim and put it at the top, because as you can see here, this eye details, it gets cut off because the stroke is also acting as part of the mask. We don't want that. So we're just going to copy this, Control D, and drag it up to the top in the eye group, but outside of eye details there. And then all you do here is you go to where it says fill, hover over here, press Alt, you'll see a little X, and you delete the fill. So now the eye is done, and there's one more important thing that we need to do. We need to change the anchor point, because when we start animating the squash and stretch, we want it to happen from the bottom, because that's where gravity is. So very simple to do that. Press Y and then just drag it down. You'll see when you see that it snaps into place there. And then when you're finished, you press I again. And now we've got our funky eye. Okay, let's just create the shadow as well. So O for another oval. Drag it out. And for this one, I'm going to make it a full of black. Go up here to layer, let's make it multiply, although it doesn't really matter because it's black. But anyway, I'm going to be playing with the transparency as well. And this one, we go up here and we just center it and call it shadow. And then we put the shadow into the master and just place it under the eye. So, and let's just drag everything down to our position from where we're going to be animating. So just down here. So that's it. That's the design part done. Let's get on to the fun part of animating. And now that our eyeball is designed, it's time for the next section. Let's get it to move, because I like to move it. Sorry, I just had to do that. Okay, so we jump into the animate section here on Rive. The first thing that we do is we go down here and do this little arrow here. So we're going to set up the animation stage. So what we want to do is we want to loop the animation, and also we want to enable the work area. Then we go down here. Let's give it a duration of about 3 seconds. And then we drag this line so we can see the full timeline. Then I'm just going to set markers here. I'm going to set one marker at 2 seconds and one marker at 1 second. So this is going to be our workspace. And as you can see, it's looping here. Okay, so now we have to put in some keys. The first key we're going to put in is the animation of the eyeball going up and down, which is we've already set that up there. So we go to this eye group. That's the one we're going to be animating for the eyeball. Then you go up here and you put in a Y keyframe. Then we go to the 30, which is the half second, and we just slide it down so it goes up. We can slide it up there. And then we go to the end of the key of the work area. Select this one, Control C, Control V. And that's it. You've got a beautiful animation. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. No, I'm just joking. We still have a long way to go. Okay, so if you look at this animation, it looks very boring. It's just going up and down. And the reason why it looks boring is because it's got no interpolation. What does interpolation mean, you might ask? Well, the interpolation is the way the keyframes get interpolated by the computer. At the moment, it's a linear interpolation, which means everything is moving at the same speed or velocity. You can see it here. It's got a very mechanical movement. This is the type of movement that a mechanical arm would have, or a robot or something like that. So to make it a bit more interesting, we're going to select all the keyframes here and then press the cubic interpolation. Okay, let's see what this looks like. You can see this already looks a bit better. It's got a bit more dynamic movement. So what's happening here is it starts slow, picks up speed, and then goes slow again. And you can see it here by the way the keyframes, by the keyframes. So basically what we want to do here is if you look at a bouncing ball, which this is essentially the same thing, it goes up fast and then it hangs in the air a bit, and then gravity pulls it down again, and then it goes up fast again. So we want to mimic that motion. So the first thing you need to do is you need to understand how these interpolation curves work. So I just pressed something there. So basically how this works is if the curve is flat and it goes in a horizontal manner, it means it's slow. If it goes here, the more steeper it gets here, the faster the acceleration, and then when it slows out like that again, it goes slower. So the flatter the curve is horizontally, the slower the movement, the faster or the steeper the movement is in the vertical, the faster the movement. I can show you with an example. Let's have a look here. We're going to go here, and then we're going to go into I, and then we're going to see this. This will give us a good idea of what's going on. So let me just show you again how to get to this graph editor here. So the first thing you do is you go in here, the eye, you select the position, and then you click there. So what we essentially want to do is we want this ball to move fast. So this is the beginning, and then slow down. So it hangs in the air and goes down fast again. So the way we can do that is we click here, and then we bring this handle up here. We can actually bring it far up, just like that. Then you can see what's happening here. This is exactly what we want. So it picks up speed quickly, and then slow, and then it hangs in the air. Then we're going to go to this one. Second one here. And then we're going to do the same. We're going to make it go slow here and then fast there. So you have to click on the first keyframe here, and then you see the interpolation here. It goes fast and then ends slow. And then if you click on this one here, then you can see the second one. So this one here is the same as this one here, and that one there is the same as that one there, as you can see. So you only need to click on that one or that one. There's a third interpolation or fourth one, which is a cubic value, where you can do the same, but I don't really use that one, because if you want to change something, for example, if I want to make the ball or the eye go a bit higher, like this, it would actually break all the handles. So the best one to use is this one, the normal cubic interpolation, and then just use these handles to massage them into place. This one, I think we can go a bit more extreme, and that one looks fine. Let's see what it looks like. But that's already looking more like a bouncing ball. You can see it goes down and it hangs in the air. I think it might be a bit fast in the beginning, just a little bit, so we can see what's going on, because at the moment it's bouncing very fast. In this one, just like that. The thing is, you have to massage these keyframes. Later on, you'll get an idea and get a feel of what it feels like. And these keyframes or these Bezier handles, you'll get them in any animation program. After Effects, Cinema 4D, Blender, they all have these. So if you can understand how to manipulate these these handles, these animation handles in the graph editor, it'll take you far in animation. Okay, this is already looking better. I think we can go with this one, but it still looks a bit stiff, don't you think? There's something wrong with it. Everything's fine. The movement's looking great, but it's still a bit stiff. So how are we going to make this little eye feel a bit more natural and less stiff? Well, squash and stretch is going to be the thing that's going to help us. Squash and stretch is one of the animation principles. It basically means that when an object moves, if it goes fast, then it stretches out, and then when it goes down, it compresses, so it squashes. Squash and stretch was basically developed to emulate movement that's very fast. It's almost like a motion blur, but it's like an animation version of motion blur. So it's basically stylized, and it's actually become quite a stylized thing in animation to use squash and stretch. Let me show you how it works. Once we do it, you'll understand it. So the next thing we do then is we go to scale here. We add a keyframe on the X and the Y. So this is where the ball is bouncing. So gravity is going to stretch it down. So what we do here is we make this, let's make it quite extreme. Make this 120. And then this is very important. If you stretch the ball in the Y, you have to compress it. Or if you stretch it in the X, sorry, you have to compress it in the Y, and vice versa. Because you want the ball to preserve volume. Because if you only stretch it in the one direction, of the one dimension of the scale, you're going to increase the volume. We want to keep the same volume of the ball. We want to create the illusion that the ball is the same volume, but it's just the actual shape of the ball is getting manipulated by the movement. So what we have here now is we have the ball going up, and then if we look on the graph editor here, I'd say this is about where we reach maximum velocity. If you look at the way how steep the curve is here. So around here, and then what we do here is we just do the exact opposite. So we make the X 80 and we make the Y 120. Now you can see our ball is getting stretched as it goes up. Then when we get to the top, we make it 100 for both. And then it hangs in the air, and then it's, oh no, it goes down again. And then I'm just going to click here. And what I'm going to do is round about here, it reaches maximum velocity when it goes down. So I'm just going to copy these keyframes. And then here, we're going to copy the squash one. So basically, and then we just select these keyframes. Let's just give them an easy ease and see what it looks like. Now our ball is looking much better and much more alive. You can see the way it's working with a squash and stretch. Actually, what you also can do, what I usually do, is when the ball reaches the top, it actually squashes a little bit because of the way the physics work. It's almost getting compressed again a little bit at the very top, but just slightly. So what we can do here is we can just take the 100% velocity or the 100% interpolation, and just maybe move them a little bit, like a few keyframes there. Copy that one, move it there. So now the 100% is on just before the ball reaches the top. It's 100%, and then the same here. We can actually move them out a little bit. So let's move them around here, and that one around here. Okay, now when the ball is at the top, we want to compress it, but very slightly. Maybe just 102 on the X and 98. See what I'm doing is, oh no, okay, 98. See what I'm doing is the ball's volume is preserved at all times. This is a very important thing to remember with squash and stretch. I cannot stress that enough. So we've got it's 100% here, and then as it reaches the top, it just compresses ever so slightly. It's a very subtle, very, very subtle. You almost feel it more than you see it. And that's just one of the things about animation is about exaggeration. you want to create movements that's exaggerated. That's why when we created the ball bounce, it goes up very fast and then it comes to rest very slow. In reality, it wouldn't be as extreme. We want to exaggerate movements, but at the same time, there's some instances like we just did here where you want to make it very subtle. So you need to understand and plan ahead, where do you want to exaggerate your movements and where do you want your movements to be a bit more subtle. Usually the primary movements are exaggerated, and then the secondary movements, which just give that little bit of extra personality to your animation, and they support the primary movements. They are much more subtle. So let's have a look at our ball. It's feeling nice to me, but there's one thing that we still need to do, and that is we still need to animate the iris. Okay, so we still need to animate the iris, and that's very easy. We're just going to go to this eye details group here, and then we're going to put a Y keyframe here. Okay, let's make it when the eye touches the ground, it's down. See, remember we put that clipping mask on, so now it works nicely. So when the eye is at the bottom, the iris goes down with its, and this is sort of simulates a bit of rotation. Okay, and then as a good habit, if you've got a loop, just before we go on, we just put that last, copy and paste that last keyframe. That's always a good habit to get into when you create looping animations, is to always, when you put a keyframe at the beginning, is to copy and paste it to the end. Okay, and then when it comes up here, we're going to take the iris there. Okay, but now we've got a little problem. This reflection is outside, but that's not a problem. We can just quickly fix it. But we need to go into the design. So this is also a very important thing with Rive. If you want to change something in your design, go to the design mode, because you can change it in animate mode, but then that parameter is going to be animated. We don't want that. We want to change the actual design. So go to design mode. It's very good to get into that habit. I've made that mistakes many times where I want to change a design and then it starts to behave funny, but then I realized, oh, I made the changes in animate mode. Okay, so let's go and look for that reflection. It's this one here. Then we just put a clip on it, which is basically the same as a mask and something like After Effects. And then we want eyeball to be the shape that it affects. Okay, then we can go back to animate and everything is working perfectly. Okay, then we take these two keyframes, easy ease them. And now we've got our eyeball rotating up and down, but we can make it a bit more interesting. And what we can do here is we can offset the rotation, because at the moment it's a bit boring and a bit static, because it goes at exactly the same moment as the ball hits the ground and as it goes up, the eye details follow. But in reality there would be a bit of a lag, so around here it would start to go up. So what we do there is very easy. We go to the start of the keyframe, we copy all of these, and then we paste them in there. So you just copy them and then go to Y and then there. Okay, I just need to move it one more there. Okay, and for some reason we've got a movement on the X as well, which I don't want. I'm just going to delete that. Okay, so now I've got a loop on the Y here. So I've copied these keyframes, and what will happen is if let me just take them. Look at them, easy ease. If I take them and I move them up a bit, it's gonna be offset, and then now we're going to have a very nice, see now it's just lagging a bit behind the ball. So as the ball goes up, and it then just round about here you can see the iris following, rotating. So it's a bit of a lag, and as it goes up, as it comes down, the iris still goes up a bit, and then it comes down. So this is looking great. I think this is looking very nice. So there's only one thing we still need to change, and that is the shadow. Because the shadow is very important because it gives it the illusion that it's in a physical space. Otherwise, it's just floating around. Okay. And when I made the shadow, I can see it's actually a bit too big. No, it's actually fine. No, it looks fine. So what I'm going to do with the shadow is I'm going to add an X and Y keyframe here, and then also where you see that little eye there under fill, this is basically where you set the opacity. I'm going to play with the opacity. Let's start it on 50 because we don't want it 100% black. Well, let's start it on 40. 40 looks nice. And then I'm going to go copy, paste. So I've pasted the velocity. I'm just going to click this arrow down so I can see all the animated parameters on the shadow. And then scale. We've got scale set. Okay, I've already added keyframes there for both ends, for the start and the end. So we go to frame 30. Now the shadow, we're going to make the opacity less. It's about 25. Let's make it 20. And then we're also going to bring the scale down a bit. Not that much, just in the X and in the Y, just a little bit down. So it just gives the illusion that there's a shadow and that the ball is in a physical space. Oh, okay, I did something wrong there. You know what I did wrong there? As I went negative with the keyframes, and then it spins it around. See, yeah, it's a negative. It shouldn't be like that. So whenever, if you ever see that things behave funny and they flip around when you've changed the scale parameters, is because you've accidentally gone into the negative. Okay, that's looking fine. I think it can be a bit more extreme. No, not that much. Let's go about 45 here. Ooh. 55, and then for the Y about 60. Okay, that's looking great, but there's one thing we need to do with the shadow, because it follows the movement of the ball. We need to have the same easing on the shadow to make it believable, because the ball goes up fast. So we need to have the same keyframe interpolation that we had on the ball. I wish the guys at Rive would make something like ease copy that you have in After Effects, where you can basically just take an ease of another parameter and copy it into something else. That would be great, but they probably still will. Rive guys, make ease copy for Rive. Thanks. Okay. Let's go in. Okay. Yeah, let's go here into scale. And then we go here. Now we just want to have the same interpolation as we had on the bouncing ball. We want that fast movement up and then slow out. So we can do that there. So remember this keyframe, if you click here, you're going to see this graph here. This one relates to that one, and then this one relates to that one. And if I press on the second one, Okay, so I did something wrong. If I press on the second one, that one relates to this one, and then that one relates to that one. You'll get used to it. It's a bit confusing in the beginning, but so we just want to create this sort of interpolation. So we've done that on the X. Let's go and do that on the Y. This is good exercise to get in the habit of massaging your keyframes, because that's what makes an animation great, is good keyframe interpolation. Spending a lot of time fiddling with the keyframes and getting them just the motion just right. Okay, this one looks, we can make this one a bit steeper. Okay, and then let's see what we've got here. Now it's looking great. I think we can probably fiddle with the opacity as well, but I don't think that's necessary, because it's a very subtle effect. But I think this is looking great. Yes. Now, congratulations, you've made your first animation in Rive.